Welcome to All Home Care Matters, the show where we discuss all things home care, with discussions on important age-related matters and topics. Brought to you by Enriched Life Home Care Services, the #1 rated home care provider in Michigan by Top Rated Local.
Hello, and welcome back to All Home Care Matters. If this is your first time visiting us here at the show, we want to say thank you for taking time out to be with us today. We appreciate how valuable everyone's time is, and that's why we try and make each episode here at All Home Care Matters something that will hopefully matter to you. Today, I am honored to welcome the film producers of the film When We Care, Deanna Gerstel Harris and Monica Lund. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you both here with us today. And, I've been looking forward to this because I just returned from DC and I was thinking about this film when I was there because there's a strong connection to it. But I want to start with you first, Deanna. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what really first sparked the idea for your powerful animated short film, When We Care?
Sure. I am 20 years a caregiver, first for my two children who grew up with chronic health conditions. I was a care recipient. I am a board certified holistic health practitioner, and I'm also a writer, director, and filmmaker.
Wonderful.
As far as what sparked my interest in this film or what was the inspiration behind the film, it had to do with my caregiving journey and my want to honor all of my experiences within that. And as you will see on the video that we'll be sharing, there was an experience that I had in Washington, D.C. as I walked the tidal basin, and I encountered a specific little cherry blossom tree there. So we'll share that in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, wonderful. And, you set this up perfectly. You actually were kind enough to share the trailer with us, and I want to play that right now for our viewers and encourage the listeners to check it out on YouTube.
In 2023, I visited the cherry blossom trees at Washington, D.C.'s tidal basin for the first time. And at the last tree by the water's edge, I was stopped in my tracks, captivated by a gnarled little tree with the water washing up over its disintegrated roots and a hollow trunk, barely clinging to life. Yet it was still blooming. I turned to my spouse and said, "Oh my gosh, this little tree is me." This tree, affectionately known as Stumpy, reflected my own struggles as a caregiver and the grief I had been processing. Little did I know, Stumpy was a symbol of hope and resilience for many others who had also seen themselves in this local icon, inspiring me to write our animated short film, When We Care. The heart of our story follows Hannah, a national park ranger and single mother, navigating the challenges of caring for her daughter with cancer and her aging mother. Amidst her own hardships, Hannah's unwavering determination to save this little tree from the ravages of climate change truly embodies the essence of Stumpy, and that same hope and perseverance that has resonated with those of us facing similar struggles. We have gathered an incredibly talented team, including an Academy Award-winning animation director and a highly decorated composer. Our creative crew is 99% female, who also identify in multiple underrepresented groups, emphasizing the importance of having diverse voices both on the screen and behind the scenes. At this crucial moment in our history, When We Care is a story about hope, resilience, and unity around critical issues that affect us all. With over 105 million Americans now in the role of caregiver, this film aims to honor their experiences and inspire a global conversation about the care economy, how we care for one another, and climate sustainability. This is the moment to bring this vital story to life. And we need your support and partnership to bring this timely film to a global audience, reaching caregivers who need to know they're not alone, and appealing to those in seats of power who have the ability to make a difference for caregivers and the sustainability of our planet. We invite you to join us in this journey of care and creativity, and together, let us inspire a wider audience to embrace the spirit of hope and resilience found in both Hannah and Stumpy. Thank you.
So we just saw the trailer. When you see it, because I'm sure you've seen it a lot more than most, what's the first thing that runs through your mind even now today when you see that?
Oh gosh, it was such a intimate and personal and unexpected experience that I had encountering Stumpy, and the camaraderie surrounding that little tree, and the people that I met at the tidal basin that came from all over the country, people diagnosed with cancer, caregivers, people who had lost a loved one. Um, when I think about it, it's such an amalgamation and representation of caregivers and care recipients. And it's in addition to that, the state of the tree and how it was hollowed out and looking at the water washing up over its roots, it was such an eye opener, because as we know, the climate situation that we have going on with the rising tides is not relegated to the tidal basin. It's responsible for 300,000 people being displaced in Katrina, after a hurricane. It was it kind of alchemized all of my experiences up to that point, and it really provided the inspiration behind the short film.
Yeah, and before we go on, Dina, you're talking about, the care recipients and the care partners and the caregivers and the strong connection with Stumpy, this cherry blossom in DC. What, for people that may not understand, what is the connection between these people and this cherry blossom? Where is the correlation?
Sure. So the film really highlights the intersection between the climate crisis and the care economy, or the caregiving crisis. And when you look at both in a separate lens, you may not see the connection, but care really is the invisible thread. It's that ties them together. It's an overall breakdown and failure to care across the board. When you look at our care economy, especially now, when you have Medicare and Medicaid, up for these huge cuts, we have to get back to a culture of care and caring for each other, caring for the environment. When you look at caregivers and care recipients and frontline caregivers like doctors and nurses, or paid caregivers, we're all kind of operating on a shoestring situation where we're all just kind of holding on for dear life. We don't have enough supports. We're all burned out. And then you look at on the other side and you've got a failure to care for our ecosystem. And we have a breakdown of our environment and the climate. And it's when you pull those two into the same lens and you see it as a breakdown of care, it provides a really great opportunity for resilience when you look at taking that as a responsibility of us as individuals and us as a community to really focus on how we can kind of reimagine caring for each other and our environment in a way that's going to be sustainable moving into the future.
And you kind of started off, by explaining your personal, situation. You're coming to this from a family caregiver perspective. If you don't mind sharing, your personal experience as a caregiver and how it deeply really inspired this film. I wanted to kind of help, share your perspective and what your background is, because you're not coming into this just as a filmmaker or anything else. You're coming to it from the role of a family caregiver.
Absolutely. So, over 20 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and I have a daughter. But out of respect for her and not wanting to discuss her medical history, my son has given me permission to talk about his story. So, before he had language, he had music. He had perfect pitch, and so that kind of set the course of the arts kind of running through my caregiving experience. And To make a long story short, he was diagnosed with moderate to severe autism, and by the age of 9, after a lot of therapies and medical interventions and dance classes, and kind of we used the arts to bring normalcy and to try and have a sense of joy within a very difficult and often tumultuous, situation of caring with kids that had pretty big diagnoses. We utilize the arts between music and singing and dancing and painting to really give my son a different, an alternate identity separate from just being a child growing up with autism. He ended up on Broadway by the age of 10. And so for me, the arts has kind of been a way to buoy us in heavy times. But because of the stress and of caring with for two kids that have chronic health issues, my health several years. And so I went from being a caregiver into being a care recipient. And I was bedridden for a year. I was in a wheelchair after that. I had a very difficult to diagnose condition. We now have language surrounding that. And it was really a breakdown of my body due to stress. And so because of my journey as a caregiver and a care recipient, it really colored and gave it gave me a different lens and in looking into our care economy and the the tremendous need for supports so that caregivers don't have a breakdown of their health and have catastrophic kind of a catastrophic life event on top of already difficult life events. So, so that was kind of my experience with that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, hopefully you're doing better now.
Yes, my medical my medical situation is in remission, and from that, it actually gave me the inspiration to go back to school. And I am a board certified holistic health practitioner, and my basis is in functional medicine. So because of kind of all of the different things we did for our health issues at home, I wanted to be able to help other families after that.
That's wonderful. So Monica, I want to, come to you now, and, Deanna's been very open in, sharing her personal story. Do you have a personal story or connection that really, motivated you and sparked you to become part of this film?
Yes, I do. I've been personally impacted by caregiving. Well, first of all, my dad cared for my mom for 15 years, just witnessing that. And now I'm a caregiver for my dad who has Alzheimer's, and and all the challenges that come with that. And then also my my dear friend and business partner, or producing partner, uh, I watched her caregive her mom who had had a stroke, and she had vascular dementia, and all the challenges, and her caregiving experience completely different from my caregiving experience. It is just as we are all individuals, our experiences in similar situations are all individual as well. So when we met Deanna at Austin Film Festival last fall, she told us about this project, and both Marion and I, it just spoke to us because I'm still deeply entrenched in the caregiving. Marion is on the other side of it. She's in the grieving process now, but you're also, when it's Alzheimer's, you're also grieving
And
all along the way because Yeah. So I I personally felt like this project, um, it's universal in that um, everybody, like Deanna has said multiple times, that everybody is going to be impacted, whether as a caregiver or a care recipient. And we're all impacted by what's going on with the climate too. And the frustrations with the uncertainty in caregiving, and the frustrations with the uncertainty with us not caring for our planet. It's just one more stressor on an already stressful situation. So
Would you mind, I know you were sharing your personal connection to this project, but was there something that really moved you when you first read the script?
I think I think what has actually moved me and brought me to this is Dina's passion for it. Her lookbook, the trailer, all the things that she has put together, that tells us a story that we don't need words for. We don't. It can all be visual and felt through what you're experiencing in watching what's going on, which is why I love film. Of course, film has dialogue and music and everything, and music is definitely an important piece in filmmaking, but it's such a wonderful medium for conveying complex and complex challenges like caregiving and climate.
Absolutely. I want to kind of stay with the climate situation because, both of you have, shared a lot of profound, examples of how caregiving and, climate change kind of intersect. What would you say to someone, though, who doesn't understand how climate change and caregiving connect? How do you give that elevator pitch so that it makes sense?
So, like I was saying briefly before, the thread that connects everything is care. And we can kind of trace everything back to a breakdown of care. And people feel that. People feel it across the board right now. And we're unfortunately, in such an apathetic and polarized climate right now, and this is why I'm so excited about this film, because and as Monica was saying, the film is set without dialogue and it's specifically for music. And I hope that when people see it, they do see themselves, and they also may see care in a lens that they didn't see it before. And I'm hoping that it opens hearts and minds across the board, because we really, really, really have to come together to be able to move forward in a way that is going to sustain us. And when I look at my caregiving journey, I had specific supports, but even in that, it took a village. It took neighbors that I barely knew to step forward. It took people from church to drop off meals. Like, I was still a caregiver and I could not care for my children. I look at single mothers, such as our main character, who is in the sandwich generation, caring for her aging mother and her daughter that has pediatric cancer. I look at people who have even less supports than I did. It's an impossible situation. So people are feeling stress and the breakdown of care across the board. Our planet and the climate situation is just a macro example and manifestation of that.
I want to, I talk to a lot of filmmakers, authors, artists, pretty much everything from the arts, side of things. And they always talk about how it wasn't as much as producing something for revenue purposes as it was for therapeutic purposes. How did the creative process of developing When We Care serve as a way for you to really process your own experiences or to even find meaning in them?
Oh, for me, it was a complete alchemizing and amalgamation of everything I've experienced over the last 20 years. And it also was a way for me to honor. Through the film, there's this theme of generational care. And it really gave me the opportunity to honor. I come from a strong matriarchal lineage of care. And I was able to honor my mom and my nana, and also, I really want people to feel seen and honored, caregivers and care recipients alike. And I was able to do that in this film. And separate from that, we are building a social impact campaign surrounding the film. And I'm very excited about that because it's going to allow me and us as the filmmakers and every person attached to this project has a care story and a connection to care. And so it's been this really beautiful experience of sharing our stories, which is, I think, the first place that we need to start. Change starts from within. And, when we go through, I just did this keynote at a conference last week here in DC. And we focused on this activity of the pillars of resilience. And it's like I look at a cherry blossom and I look at the different petals. And when you talk about self-care, caring for others, caring for your community, and then your environment and your world, you really have to start with yourself. And as we know with caregivers, that's very difficult to do sometimes. So with this social impact campaign, we're really going to be uniting caregivers and kind of around this culture of care. And we have some really exciting things coming in this next year while we're producing the movie. So
That's incredible. I want to kind of tie into that though. How are you hoping that your creative expression through this film will really help to inspire others to think about the importance of caregiving and these support structures that are needed for it?
Well, I think that this film is coming, unfortunately, at a very timely moment in our country as we look at rolling back and cutting supports for caregivers and care recipients. As I said, with the breakdown of my health due to the stress of caregiving, and I had some supports in place. People are desperately in need of support, and I'm hoping that when this film can be the catalyst for a conversation, for opening hearts and minds, because as we've said numerous times, none of us we are not going to escape being touched by the need for care or the need to care. And I know Monica can probably add something to this.
Well, I was just thinking about the constant worry behind me in my experience in caregiving my dad. I mean, when it all began, he had been scammed. That's what started the whole journey of, oh my gosh, what's happening to my dad's mind. And I'm fortunate in a way that he's a military veteran. He's got decent care, um, and he's got that support. But then, you know, what's happening now in our country with all the cutbacks that are happening, and what's going on is just, what if all of that goes away for him? Then what do I do to help him? So it's like Dina said, we need more systems in place. We need a larger support system because my dad's lucky he's got me to worry about those things. But what about those people who have nobody? I mean, that could be me someday. I have no children. I have no spouse. You know, how's that going to be for, I mean, it's there, we really need to care about our community and the people around us. And one way of doing that is making sure that there are systems in place to help people. That's what we do as human beings. I mean, it's just a basic humanity thing,
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's for sure. And we have a home care company here in Michigan, and we've been around for about 15 years. And one thing that we often see is different cultures tend to run closer to their loved ones when they need help. Where I feel like more Western society, we tend to look for others to help. And I understand that too. People have jobs, they have children, sandwich generation that may not always be practical. But it's really nice to see when that family kind of encircles their loved one and, they're there for them. But I want to talk a little bit about how this process of making this advocacy film helped to influence your perspective on the role of artists and filmmakers in social change, and how maybe you discovered something about yourselves that you maybe did not know prior to this.
So I've always felt like there's no greater medium for change than media and film and the arts. It's it goes straight into people's homes. I feel as artists, creatives, and filmmakers, we are honored to be able to help shape narratives to accurately depict real life scenarios, and it puts us in a position of being able to indirectly create change by helping people possibly see something that they are not exposed to. Um, so yeah, I think it's an honor and it's a responsibility too, and I don't take that lightly. And I feel like it's it's been a blessing to be able to take kind of 20 years of life experience and offer my voice and do conversations that I want to be a part of because I'm a concerned citizen. So I really view the arts as one of the most powerful mediums to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Monica, did you want to add to that?
And I think Dina said it all really. I mean, I agree with what she said. As a heavy consumer of the arts, theater, film, music, it's there's community in that, and it's a positive community. It's not a community that is destructive. It's it's beautiful, and it's important. And I think that um, in a community, that's how you make change happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's unifying.
very unifying. Yeah.
You know, sometimes, engaging with the news or political issues can feel draining, aggravating, frustrating, depressing, name all of the emotions. But how can a creative practice serve as a way to really recharge and maintain your energy for staying informed, staying engaged, and continuing to stay active?
It's heavy. Right now, daily, we're living with it's heavy. And I've always viewed the arts as a way to buoy us. And so I'm a certified yoga practitioner. I'm also a mom of rescue dogs, and I take my dogs for a walk daily. And I've begun to incorporate mindfulness and photography into our walks. And it's really helped me to retrain my brain to see and find points of beauty. So I think that yeah, it's heavy right now, and the arts have always been a way to help me kind of process that.
Okay. Yeah. As we're wrapping up, I wanted to ask each of you a couple more questions and just thank you for your time joining us today and sharing this incredible film. But I want to kind of find out, where are you guys at in production, and what is the plan for the film and the social impact campaign? I know you had mentioned that a little bit earlier. And how can our viewers and listeners get involved?
Yeah, so we have just entered into production, which is very exciting. We're heading into the storyboarding. At the same time, we are beginning to soft launch our social impact campaign, which is going to consist of YouTube, TikTok, social media, kind of spotlighting different care stories, different climate, people who kind of are climate advocates, but really kind of bringing community together surrounding this idea of developing a culture of care and taking care of ourselves, taking care of others, and taking care of the spaces that we live in. In June, we are launching our first crowdfunding campaign, which we are offering at different donation levels, different incentives and different experiences, a way to kind of join in the When We Care family. So yeah, so those are the things we're looking forward to. I'm also going to be on a couple of podcasts, and like I said, I just did a keynote here in last week here in DC. So really looking at developing community surrounding this film, so that when we do release the film, we're going to be doing film festivals, and we have the capability of screening. We've made several partnerships with national organizations that will be allowing us screening potential for the film. We're going to be having talkbacks, discussions. We really want to be able to use this film as a catalyst to be able to have these conversations surrounding the care economy and our climate crisis.
That's wonderful, Deanna. Is there a website or anywhere we can put up on the screen for our viewers? Everything's going to be in the show notes, but if there's a place you'd like people to go to today, we can put that up on the screen right now for our viewers.
Absolutely. If you go to whenwecarefilm.com, we would love to have you sign up on our website so that you can get updates on the film. And we will have all the information you need there. We're on socials at whenwecarefilm.com, and on Instagram, When We Care Film. And then the rest of the links will be in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question before we go. I'm very fond of asking this question because I think you get some interesting responses. If we didn't talk for the next 5 years and we run into each other somewhere in DC, or Monica and I run into each other at a Tim Hortons or a Starbucks, depending on where you're at in the country, Monica, where's the When We Care movement at 5 years from now? What is your goal? What is the peak of what you are identifying as your goal?
The peak in identifying, well, for the film, I would love to have a wide release for the film, because I really I really believe in this as a medium that is going to speak to people intimately and personally, and also generally and globally. So I hope that it has a wide release. I hope that through the social impact campaign, we can inspire people to care for themselves, tap into their own narratives and their own stories, and be able to find purpose in their story, to be able to help others, and to really build a solid community of care surrounding this that will reverberate out and make a difference in the way that we approach policy, the way that we approach each other, the way that we take care of the world.
Wonderful. Well, Deanna Gerstel Harris and Monica Lund, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your stories and this incredible film, When We Care. All the information will be in the show notes as well as up on the screen, and we look forward to following the release and the success of the film. And if we can help in any way, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Lance. Really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Thank you for joining us today here at All Home Care Matters. All Home Care Matters is here to help families as they navigate these long-term care issues. We invite you to visit us at allhomecarematters.com, where there's a private, secure, fillable form where you can give us feedback, show ideas, or if you have questions. Every form is read and responded to. And remember, you can listen to the show on any of your favorite podcast streaming platforms or watch the show on our official YouTube channel. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. We'd also like to say thank you again to Monica Lund and Deanna Gerstel Harris for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you here again at All Home Care Matters.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you joining us again on another episode of All Home Care Matters. To learn more about the show and to connect with us, visit us at allhomecarematters.com.